you've ever caught yourself thinking that physical intimacy had become more of an obligation than a pleasure, that desire had disappeared somewhere, and your intimate life had started bringing discomfort rather than joy? If so, you are absolutely not alone. Millions of women over 50 go through this, and most of them blame themselves, their fatigue, their age, their relationships. But science says something completely different. Welcome to the channel where we explore simple, science-based habits that help women stay strong, healthy, and energized after 50. Today, we'll gently explore a topic that many prefer to avoid, and one that directly affects how you feel, your mood, and the quality of your relationships. Let's start with the most important thing. Discomfort during intimacy is never normal. Many women endure it thinking, well, it's just age, nothing to be done. But researchers offer a very simple analogy. Imagine you burned your hand on a hot stove. You would never touch it intentionally again. Your brain works exactly the same way. If intimacy causes pain, it simply switches off desire to protect you. That's not a malfunction. That's your body taking care of you. The cause is most often physiological. Research suggests that declining estrogen levels lead to thinning and dryness of tissues. This is not your fate. These are hormonal changes worth discussing with your doctor. Many women notice that after a consultation and using local support treatments, tissues regain their elasticity, and intimacy becomes comfortable again. And as a bonus, the risk of infections that often accompany this period also decreases. And now about desire. What if there's no discomfort, but the spark has still faded? Here it's important to understand something that very few people explain. In our younger years, many of us knew spontaneous desire, the kind that ignites on its own. With age, and especially in long-term relationships, it often shifts to a different type: responsive desire. You may feel complete indifference to the topic until gentle, unhurried, comfortable contact begins. And only then does desire awaken in the process itself. Many women notice that when they stop waiting for a lightning bolt and give themselves time to transition from the day's demands into relaxation, everything changes. This isn't coldness. This is completely normal physiology of mature age. The next thing researchers talk about is the trap of predictability. When a couple has lived together for many years, intimate life often turns into a rehearsed script. You know every move in advance. And novelty is exactly what fuels arousal. A small change in routine, a gentle surprise, a different setting. All of this works not as a whim, but as neurobiology. And here it's important to remember anatomy. Science has long established that what we might call the external sensitivity zone is like an iceberg. Only a small part is visible from the outside, while its structures extend deep within. For most women, attentive external stimulation matters just as much as any other form of intimacy. This is not an exception. This is a rule that has simply been silenced for far too long. There are periods when familiar forms of intimacy become uncomfortable due to joint pain, pelvic changes, or age-related changes in a partner. Society tells us if things don't follow the classic script, it doesn't count. But specialists say otherwise. Hugs, kisses, mutual touch, massage, these are a fully valid and beautiful path to intimacy and deep emotional connection. When you remove the requirement of one mandatory scenario, Your intimate life can become far more relaxed, playful, and, surprisingly, more fulfilling. And finally, conversation. For many, this is the hardest step. Discussing intimate matters face to face, lying in bed, almost always brings vulnerability and tension. Psychologists recommend moving these conversations to neutral ground. Try talking during a walk, when you're side by side, looking in the same direction. This physically reduces the level of confrontation. And use I statements. Not, "You never do this," but, "I feel so good when you touch me like this." This simple shift in communication opens the door to an honest and safe dialogue. Many women who begin to better understand their physiology break free from familiar routines and openly talk about their desires. Notice that their intimate life after 50 can become deeper and brighter than ever before. In our next video, we'll talk about how to address joint stiffness and that familiar cracking feeling after 50. See you there!